Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined by our professional of the year, Jim Ramsey. Pleasure to see him here, the director and owner of Aletheia Marriage Counseling. That's Aletheia, marriagecounseling.com. And yes, he's a licensed marriage and family therapist and has been in the field for quite some time. He has a lot of expertise in Christian marriages, in divorce, helping people through, in individual couples counseling, and so much more. We welcome you back today. How are you feeling?
Doing good. Thank you.
Good. Well, we are happy to talk to you because you always give us an insight into men and women, and we know they're both very different, right? And how each of us and the other should relate to each other, the things that we're not thinking of because the other one doesn't think like that because we have a different brain. So you always give great advice. You answer a lot of my questions and give me new insight. And I hope a lot of people out there who are listening about the importance and the value of sticking together and learning to love someone. Doesn't mean you have to change yourself, but you also have to be a little more open, right, to loving that person the way maybe they want to be loved or need to be loved or how they perceive to be loved, right? So complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, but you're an
It's
expert at it.
complicated first.
What?
Well, once you get over some initial hurdles, once you kind of get on the same wavelength, it gets easier. But at first, it just feels like good night, whatever went wrong. We were so happy when we were dating in the first year or so, and then it just seems like it gets more and more complicated, convoluted. But
Mm-hmm.
once you begin to get on each other's wavelength and fully respect and honor each other and become more patient with each other, things get much better.
Yeah.
But reacting is the problem.
Yeah.
We're reacting to what we think is going on. We're reacting to what we feel. We're not talking directly with each other about what's going on inside and feeling closer. Instead, we're kind of pushing each other away by reacting.
Ah, well, thank you for reminding us. Let's not overreact. Let's stop. Let's take a breath and talk it out. And that's what you do, right? You're talking to clients all over. Explain a little bit about, what you do in your role here as a counselor, and then we'll get started for today. Thank you.
Well, I do something now that's pretty unusual and new, and that's intensive weekend work. So we do virtual work at first to get acquainted with them together and then individually. Then we take an inventory through the Gottman Institute that identifies all the problems in their relationship. And then we work through a book together using Zoom, see them every couple of weeks just to make sure
Mm-hmm.
they're on track and answer questions and coach. And then when they got the book finished, they come and see me for a long weekend, 16 hours. And there we resolve anything and everything that still needs to be fixed and get on a whole new trajectory.
Great. Well, we
Because
appreciate.
otherwise, it just people traditionally would just come and see the therapist once a week for months and months and not get much of anywhere and get frustrated. But that's not the way we do now with research-based therapy. We know what we're doing. We're going a straight line down through a treatment plan, and it makes a big difference.
Great. Well, thank you for being back here and joining us. And for today, we're going to get right to it. Let's talk about some of the main complaints that husbands have concerning their wife's complaints about their behavior. Let me repeat that. If someone's like, wait, what are the main complaints that husbands have concerning their wife's complaints about their behavior?
Well, I think that men feel kind of confused and kind of like it's unfair and like no matter what I do is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they kind of feel like because the wife becomes emotional and basically is more likely to get on what's wrong than tell them what's right, they get discouraged. They kind of feel like, man, what in the world? I can't please this woman. So words like negative,
Mm-hmm.
overly emotional are words that men use to describe their wives. They're just always upset. They're always on my case, that kind of thing. And so that kind of informs the woman a little bit. I need to be positive. I need to ask for what I want. I need
Yeah.
to be nice to him. I need to thank him for things. I need to compliment him for what he's doing right. Because it's just like anything. You don't get anywhere by Mo- Criticism doesn't motivate. It just doesn't motivate.
No, it
You know,
does
if you
quite the
don't care about
opposite.
how you're feeling and what you're needing, well, then somebody that loves you will try to please you. But if you feel like they're on their case all the time, it just feels like there's no use.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Well, thank you for sharing that. And what about the kind of changes do men need to make in order to alleviate their wives' frustrations with them? Hmm. So we have to change a little, is what you're
Well,
saying.
I think the man needs to kind of see things differently. She's doing the best she can. She's overwhelmed. She's trying to multitask,
Yeah.
and it's you got to really empathize with her and understand that's hard what she's doing. And I want to take care of my girl. I want to love her. I want to help her. I want to encourage her. Um, and so rather than kind of be on the defensive, she's always mad about something. Try to understand what she's upset about and what can I do to prevent that and what can I do to help with that. Um, so a guy's got to get off of being in reactionary mode. He's got to get
Mm-hmm.
into proactive. What can I do to encourage or to help or provide or make things easier? And then she begins appreciating, she
Yeah.
begins thanking and being happy. And the old adage, happy wife, happy life. Well, the key is how do you make her happy? Well, you take care of her,
Yeah.
you know, and then she relaxes. She's more fun. She's more spontaneous. But if she's under this huge load all the time, and then she starts doing the things that make you react, well, then it just gets worse and worse and worse. So a guy's got to see, I can do something about this. I've got to stop being defensive and start being proactive and try to know what to do to make things better.
Beautiful. What would you say are the primary reasons that men, where did I lose my train of thought? Sorry, the primary reasons that men often behave in ways that are upsetting for their wife.
Well, I think that men are kind of inclined to be reactionary. They do what's upsetting to their wife because they're reacting. They're feeling unrespected. They're feeling unappreciated. They're feeling pushed around. They're feeling bossed. They're feeling criticized. They're feeling demeaned. They're feeling emasculated. All those kind of feelings make a guy grumpy. You know,
Uh-huh.
and so a guy's got to realize I've got to. There's a part here for me. If I'm going to take care of my wife and family, I've got to understand each of their needs. I've got to be tuned into what they need and be helpful. I need to be proactive in a positive way. Um, and if they are being upset rather than react to it, I got to understand what they're upset about so they can kind of calm down and unwind, and then they can start feeling good toward me, and then I feel like, okay, I did something right. You got to look at it objectively and begin solving the problem in a way that isn't like I'm right and you're wrong, and stop being so emotional. That kind of stuff just doesn't fly, you know?
For sure. Well, also, let me ask you about the basically the typical husband, right? How does a typical husband respond to his wife's emotional upsets and complaints?
Well, the typical husband gets quickly defensive and then he begins to shut down and he begins to just try to avoid anything that's upsetting. And they just want to get out of the house. They want to go to the gym. They want to go out in the garage. They want to work in the yard, anything to get away from this unhappy
Ah,
person.
horrible.
And
Yeah.
and then, of course, she starts worrying about him not loving me anymore and wanting to be away from me. It's not a matter
Oh.
of not loving her. He just doesn't know what to do.
Mm.
And of course, he can start feeling kind of unloving because he thinks she's always mad at him, and she starts. It's a sad scenario, and it's so common. I mean, it's really common, and it can be corrected.
Well, also, how does it work on the opposite side of things if you switch it around, right? The woman, how is he responding? Or the woman, I should say.
The thing a woman needs to understand is that he is not wired the way she is. He is into competency. He wants to solve things. He wants to settle things. He wants to get things finished and be done. And he wants to feel successful. I want to feel like I'm a successful husband. And my wife and my kids respect me. That's a very big word with men. They want to feel valued and
They,
respected and honored. And to the degree that that's not going on, they tend to get defensive or they shut down if they don't want to do
Yep.
anything mean. They just try not to be around anymore, you know?
And not
Uh,
browbeat. That's my dad's favorite word, browbeat. I hate women who browbeat. Your mom used to browbeat me, he said. Like,
yeah,
always put
that's
me
a good
down, point out my negative, point out my flaws. And, he was
yes.
never raised up in a sense, confidence built
What
wise.
you're what you're saying there is exactly right, Jill. Um, I've said it a few times, I'll say it more. Criticism does not motivate. Browbeating does not improve behavior. Getting on somebody's case does not improve behavior. What you want to do is let somebody know what you want and then thank them for what they give you. And if you didn't get it quite right, ask them for what you want a little different. You did really good here, but I need help here. And just be patient and let the man know what you need and what you want. And then when I do it, thank me. You know, then you got me coming along. Now I'm learning. I'm learning you. I'm learning what you like. I'm learning what you want. I want to please you. Women need to understand that the average man wants to please his wife. Now, that one fact can can really put you on the right track because if he wants to please me, well, then what do I need? Well, I just need to let him know what to do to please me.
Yeah.
You know? And don't get on his case about what you don't want. Just let him know what you want. And every time he does something right, you thank him. If he does it on his own, you're really appreciative because you want to get to the point where we don't have to ask him for everything. He learns.
He learns. Yep. And
She,
it's,
she likes this. She likes that. Well, I can do this or I can do that. And then she thanks me. Oh, wow, this is wonderful. I'm a success.
yeah,
And she thinks I'm hot. But boy, anytime a woman starts getting on his case, that really does damage to his ego. A lot of men are very
exactly.
fragile that way.
And one thing that you've taught me over the weeks of us talking is about you as a woman. Listen up, ladies out there, asking for what you want. There's nothing wrong with telling them what you like, don't like, and just being open and honest. Because you said sometimes men, they need to hear that. They need to be reminded sometimes, right? Till it sticks a little bit.
Jill, I can't tell you how difficult it is for the average wife to ask for what she needs.
Mm.
It's just weird. It's like he should know. Well, I'm sorry, but he doesn't have the intuition you have. He doesn't read you as well. Uh, no, he doesn't know. Give him the
Mhm.
benefit of the doubt. He's not a jerk. He's not just unloving. He just doesn't know. He's smart. He can do things, but he doesn't read your mind.
Maybe you
He
should
doesn't
write a
think
book
like you
before you get married, and the woman should give it to the man. So, chapter one, this is how I like the house kept. Chapter two,
do.
no, put the toilet seat down. Like, so you can't say I didn't tell you. It's in the book.
And then, of course, how you tell him is the key. I mean, just in a sweet way.
Oh, you gotta.
Honey, I'd really like to do this with you. Or just like being your girlfriend and just, hey, could we go do this someplace? Just a nice way of just letting you know, I'd like to go to a restaurant, or I'd like to go shopping, or I'd like to this, or I'd like to that, or I need to this, or whatever. I need you to help me here. I need you. I need is a good word for man. I want to feel needed. I want to feel like I'm going to make a difference in her life. But they're so busy
Hmm.
being mad about me not doing what they want that they don't even let me know what I can do right. It's like a kid feeling like I can't please my parents.
So it's
Same thing. You
okay.
got to raise the kids the same way.
Yeah.
Negativity is not the way to go. You got to always compliment them for what they're doing right.
So it's okay
All
for
right.
you, obviously, to ask for what you need. And then you'll learn right then and there if it's possible,
Mhm.
right? Maybe
Yeah.
he didn't know that, or maybe he'll try, or maybe he won't try. It's a whole
Yeah.
nother show. And then they're going to come to you to talk more. Where do we leave off? I love when we go on tangents. Where are we? Let me see. We're on the main differences, maybe. What are some of the main differences between men and women that cause men to often frustrate their wives and hurt them emotionally?
Well,
Hmm.
there's so many differences that have been discounted over the years. Women think to become equal means to act like a man, and that doesn't work. When you treat a man like a man, he's going to treat you like a man, and then you don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
You're better off being a woman. The man will treat you better. So the main difference is that guys are very rational and very single-minded. That's a key word here. They're oblivious because not because they're stupid, but because they're thinking about something else. They're on the left side of their brain. And if you're thinking about that, you're not hearing this or thinking about this. that's foreign to women because they use their whole brain and they are able to attend to several things at the same time rather easily. They multitask because they're equipped to multitask. Men are not equipped to multitask. So it's very difficult to do it. And so,
Really?
um,
But for real, men are only really using the left half of the brain. And you said this before, but like seriously, like I've never really knew this until you brought it up about how our anatomy works differently in a sense.
yeah, the brain of the woman is totally
I feel
connected
like
by
it's firing
the
everywhere all the time.
yeah. Yeah, a woman cannot get away from emotions at all because they can't get away from the right side of the brain. They always have to be there, and they always have to be over here to the left. So they're capable of very rational thinking. They're 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 stronger in that way than men are. They've got everything there, but the problem is it's hard to do it all at once. See, a man has a luxury of leaving the right side. I'm not going to think about all that emotional stuff. I'm going to go and work on this algebra problem. I'm going to work on this design problem, or I'm going to work on everything else. And zone this all out. There could be all kinds of hell going on over here. And he's focusing on how to solve some hairy problem. Okay, that's a gift. That's important. That's very valuable. But it's a liability when it comes to being aware of the things women are aware of. For example, that a man has to focus on reading body language. He wouldn't read body language. He's tuned into words. Women, certain body language is so obvious. It's like it's shouting to them. It's just, how could you not see this? That's why they figure you should know that I need this,
Hmm.
because to them it's like they're shouting, I need help. But to a
Yeah.
man, he's over thinking about this or that, and he's not hearing any of that.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
so it's a actual grind turning the gears to go over to the side for a man. And he's going back to where he likes to be.
oh
Women
my
don't have any of
goodness.
that back and forth. They're there all the time, everywhere.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that. And also, let's just remind everyone how we can reach out to you, please.
Yes, you can call me on my phone, 406-370-3515, or you can email me, Jim Ramsey, MT as in Montana, at gmail.com. Love to hear from you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And let's talk about maybe what are the main needs that a man has that his wife needs to understand now and meet in order for him to make the changes that she needs.
I think the main thing a man needs to know is that she loves me and she respects me and she is proud of me. Men really want to feel like their wives are proud of them and value what they're doing. And so to say things like, I really appreciate this, or I really respect that, or I can't believe how hard you work, or you're such a good provider. Any kind of compliment that has to do with what he's doing is very important to a man. And just the fact that I'm making a difference. I'm taking care of you. I'm taking care of the kids. You appreciate what I'm doing. That's huge for men. And sometimes they just kind of feel like they're just expected to go out and do this stuff. And then when they come in, they're mad because they didn't help with the kids right the minute they walked in the door or something. It just sometimes they just feel like they're not appreciated and respected enough.
Thank you for sharing that. And also, you know, um, the work that you're doing, clearly you're helping so many men and women separately, together. One thing I just want to point out, which you always taught me, you're in a relationship, you're in love, things are going, it's never too early to come to start discussing these things, even before the marriage. It can help avoid calling you in the future. But
Yeah.
really, you got to learn to communicate and understand each other before you commit. A lot of us commit without that, and then we end up with these problems. So
Yeah.
don't feel bad. I mean, and then it's also just, let me ask, it's could be embarrassing for a man or for a woman to sit down and talk about their fault and have someone else point them out, So how do you come in, as a counselor, who is so kind and empathetic, but to let them know it's okay to open up to you? I mean, could you just, how do you relate to someone? What would you say to them?
Well, I think it's important to really genuinely like people and care about people. I don't find it difficult. I enjoy everybody I see. I respect everybody I see. In fact, I respect people that have got real big problems. I'm respecting how they're dealing with it or how they're living with it, or I mean, it's just it's weird, but when you just truly want to help people and you like people and you understand that there are really hard things that people go through, then people feel safer. They feel secure. They feel like this is not just some kind of an academic expert that's going to analyze me. This is a friend that's going to help me and care about me. So humor is a big part of our work together.
Yeah.
We just talk in a very natural way, and I think when people are comfortable, they open up, and when they realize that uh, doing the work, it pays off. They begin to see the benefits. They begin to see changes, huge differences. Because you can get locked into these vicious circles, you feel trapped. There's
Yeah.
just no way out. We're stuck. This is it for the rest of our lives. And once they begin to realize, no, it doesn't have to be it for the rest of your life. You've got the next half to work on. And so we get huge change in trajectory from where they're going now to where they want to go, figuratively speaking. So, no, I really enjoy my work, and I think people enjoy working with me because it's not a pain. It's not anything that's weird. It's natural, and I'm not interested in having them become dependent on me, like they got to see me the rest of their life. Nothing like that. I'm an educator and a coach,
Yeah.
and so our time together is fairly brief. But they've got access to me later if they want to come back and talk about this or that. They can.
All
But
right.
I think people think if they start therapy, something like psychotherapy, you're going to get stuck for years or something. No, it's not like that.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. We still have more time to chat, and we will. Let's move on to children and parenting the children, because I notice a lot of differences, and I'm sure you do. What are some of these differences between husbands and wives in the way they parent children? Could you address that for us?
Yeah, I think, men are really concerned about making sure they're tough enough to deal with life and they're going to be successful and they're going to learn how to work hard and learn how to be tough and not, fall apart at the seams emotionally. They're trying to prepare the kid to be a grown, independent, responsible adult. And so the tendency is to be a little tough on them, whereas the mom is trying to nurture them. Dads often start trying to be tough too early. They're trying to get a little 5-year-old to be tougher or something. But the woman's trying to nurture and the man's trying to teach and prepare for future. And of course, that's an overstatement. Both are doing both, but there's a little bit of a difference between the two in those roles. So that's interesting. I got a phone turn off here.
It's
Uh,
okay.
yeah, so that could be a conflict for husbands and wife. In fact, it can be a kind of a thing where one parent is sort of the nice guy, and the other one's kind of the tough guy. And we call that a symbiotic relationship. One is being nice for both of them, one's being tough for both of them. That's not a good idea. You want to both be nice and tough. You
Hmm.
both want to be kind and structured. You both want to, do both. But there's a little bit more from the father, from the standpoint of getting ready to face the world. Mom is in the house and dad's out there, and the kids kind of see him as the bigger figure that's kind of knows
Hmm.
about the outside world more. That's traditionally the case. Now the women are as much as men are, but so yeah, I think those are kind of the historic change differences that have existed. They're changing more and more all the time.
Got it. All right. Well, also in our last few minutes together, we still have another question or two to go through. What would you say motivates each of us, men and women, of course, to focus on these different approaches?
Well, I think that uh, both husband and wife want to help the kids, and mom wants to make them kinder and sweeter and get along. They're very much into the relational work and don't fight, be kind, say you're sorry and all that. That's all very important. He's more learning how to work, how to study, how to do the stuff outside. Now, I'd like to wrap this up with parenting is just like in a relationship, you want to be focused on positive. You want to be focused on what is good, what's working, as opposed to what the problem is. And so I think it's a really good idea for parents when they have a child to sit down together and say, okay, what do we want the basic characteristics of this child to be as an adult? Well, we want them to be honest. We want them to have good morals. We want them to have good work ethic. We want to make sure that they are disciplined, whatever. You come 5 or 6 or some number these are the main attributes we want this child to have when they grow up. Then, as the child is growing, every time you see them being responsible, or every time you see them being honest, or every time you see them being a hard worker, you make a thing of it. Wow, I can't believe what you did. Look at this. And you brag on them. I mean, really brag on them. It's like you take a stamp and put a stamp on the forehead. Honest, hard worker, responsible. And the kid, he begins to, that's what I am. I'm a responsible, hard worker, honest person, because you emphasize it, you thank them for that. Okay. And what'll happen is everybody in the world will start reinforcing it. In school, the teachers say, could somebody stay after here, help me on the blackboard? I got to get, I'll help you. And here's this kid helping. And she looks at him and says, I've never seen such a hard worker. Those other kids ran out the door to go home, and you offered to help me here in this room. You are such a hard worker. And so it reinforces. So you want to get away from being critically oriented and go positive. Positive is the way to go. And if somebody makes a mistake, tell them what they learned from it and move on. But don't harp on it, because you're teaching them that they're a failure, or they're a dummy, or they're bad, or whatever. You don't want to go there.
All right. Well, we are about to wrap it up for the day. How did you kind of want to leave off for us in summary of today's conversation?
Well, I think the summarize would be to say that whether we're talking about male, female, or we're talking about adult kids, it's really important that we try to honor the other person. We try to understand them. We try to be positive with them. We try to avoid being frustrated and negative and angry or hurt, because it just makes everything worse. If I can be objective, try to look at this. Okay, this little guy's having this problem. Okay, if they're having a problem, I'll sit down with them and talk about it and work it through. If they made a mistake, what'd you learn from it? If you did something good, wow, I'm so proud of you. To be a positive person with your spouse or with your children is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if we want to reach out to you to work with you, obviously anyone can, anywhere, reach out. How do we do so?
Yeah, you can go to my website, AlethiaMarriageCounseling.com. You can call me on email. Email me a note, Jim Ramsey, MT as in Montana, @gmail.com, or call me on the phone, 406-370-3515. I do have some room in my schedule. I'd be happy to talk with you.
Aw, thank you so much. Pleasure having you back as always. And hopefully we'll chat again next week. Jim Ramsey, thank you for all the info and making us feel that it's okay to open up, to talk. They're all different. You gotta express your needs, your wants, and talk about it. Thank you so much. You have a great day, okay?
I will. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye. To all of our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.